As somebody who's lived internationally for almost half his life, I speak Korean fairly fluently. I can write it, I can read it, I can say it, I can hear it. I know the culture really well. My wife's Korean, my kids are Korean. My job deals with Koreans on a daily basis. My friends are Korean. I'm very much within Korean society. But I'm not Korean. And I will never be Korean. When I go into a restaurant, people will still ask me, like, do I want a fork? Because, like, chopsticks, they see a white guy, they don't know I'm American, they just see a white guy. And they just assume, can't speak the language, can't use chopsticks, can't eat spicy food like kimchi. There's all these stereotypes, there's all these, presumptions about me that are always going to be there. I came to Korea in 2005. 2005. It is now 2021. So do the math. Yet, still, I am treated like I just got here. I will never be accepted into this community. And it's not because of racism. What's up, guys? So I'm in my car right now. So here's the situation. I was told about this thing called white privilege, and it's basically saying that white people have this underlying this right to benefits that I guess other races don't have, or other skin tones don't have. So I mean, what does that actually mean? Like, I guess the whiter you are, the more privilege you have. I don't know, because even for whites, there's different shades of white. Blacks have different shades of blacks. Asians are different shades of Asian. There's different shades of every racial group, but whatever. So they're saying basically my white group, I have this right to benefit in society that other races, don't have the luxury of. And you see my problem with that, right? First off, I'm a white guy who lives in Asia, okay? So you can't even apply this. It's funny as hell when people say to me, like, to me as the individual white guy, I have white privilege. And then I say, well, why do I have white privilege? Can you give me an example where I was privileged? I benefited because of my skin more than somebody else? And, they tell me things like, when you go to the bank, or when you go to the store, or if you have problems and you say, can I speak to the manager? 9 out of 10 times, not over 90% of the time, probably it's going to be a white person, somebody of my skin tone, of my complexion. Well, possibly in America, but in Asia, no, it's going to be a Korean. They're not going to speak English. They're not going to look white. They're not going to know anything about my American values. So that's just one example, by the way, of like white privilege. I guess being able to find comfort in situations because your race is overrepresented in situations. I agree that skin color has an effect on things in life, but it doesn't have an effect on all things in life. And so it depends on three things. I've determined three things. There's three things that matter. Context, okay? Me being in Asia, that's my context. You gotta look at the situation. We're not all in the same situation in life. So context. Number two is goal. What is the goal? What is the benefit obtained by the privilege? What is the outcome, the result? Is the desired result. As in, like, if you are wanting to get a job, your desired result would be to be hired. So the goal is to get hired. And then number three would have to be interference. Like, how sure can you say that it was the skin color that pushed you over the hill, that pushed you over the hump and got you to that success, Such as if you had a guy who's tall, handsome, good-looking white guy, and then you had a tall, handsome, good-looking black guy, and then the white guy got the job. So the eye test would say, well, man, everything else, all their positive qualities were the same, but he was white. You know, they're both tall, both handsome, both good looking, but he's white. But see, the thing is there are an infinite amount of variables in each individual. And I know Democrats love to break us into groups. You know, they put us in groups based on gender, groups based on sex, groups based on, you know, sexual orientation. They love the groups, the identity politics. But when you're looking at groups, you can break the groups into more groups. You go black and white, right? And then you go, within the black group, you go gays and straights, okay? Or like transgender, like LBQ, whatever, LBGQTZ, XYZ, and then just straight, cis black. And then in the cis black group, let's go by age. So over 50, under 49, okay? And now, so we got the black, straight, under 49 group. Let's now go by height. Let's break that into, so you see what I'm doing, right? Like, you can create an infinite amount of groups to fit your narrative, to fit any narrative you want. So the reason I'm pointing this out is that the individual, okay, when you get to the last specific trait, when you break the groups up as far as you can go to that infinite amount, what are you left with? You're left with the individual. All you have left is the individual. And so my point is this: you cannot scientifically, factually claim that because of this trait, this outcome happens, or this trait can equate to this much value of privilege, because there's an infinite amount of variables that are at play, and there's no multivariate analysis that can be done to assess how much value each trait shows. And you start going into things that are not in the law. Like, we don't have laws that say if you're 5'5", you can do this, and if you're 5'7", you can't do this, and if you're black, you can't do this, and if you're white, you can do this. And we don't have laws that say that. So any kind of discrepancy that you see in the world, you have to figure, we're just guessing what variable is at play. We don't know the actual variables. There are too many successful people of all races that you cannot just say it's because of the skin color. Obama was the president for the last 8 years. He was handsome. Obama's handsome. He's tall. He's a great speaker. He's got charisma. People genuinely, like even Republicans, they trusted the man. They looked up to the man. They didn't see like, black man, oh man, hide the jewelry. Those stereotypes are gone. Also, by the way, Obama dresses nice. He wears his suits. He's got his nice shiny black shoes on. You know, he's got the tie on. Got the tan suit on. If you're walking around with saggy jeans and bling bling on your neck and stuff, you're probably not going to win president. You're probably not going to get a job in the career that you want to work in, unless you want to be a rapper rapping about drugs and killing and gangbanging.
Pull up and shoot up your town.
But I don't care. Culture is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the multifaceted approach to white privilege that everybody seems to just disregard. Do you know how racist that sounds when you say because of someone's skin color, they're successful?
I've chosen to cross different parts of the media world, done the work so that I'm qualified to be in each one. I never considered my color the issue. I considered my qualifications the issue.
David, you know, that's a whole nother long conversation about white privilege and things that you have the privilege of doing that people of color don't have the privilege of.
How do I have the privilege of white privilege?
David, by virtue of being a white male, you have white privilege.
I hate to break it to you, but you should have been better prepped. I'm black. You went to white privilege. This is the falsehood in this. You went immediately with an assumption. Your people obviously, or you didn't look. You're talking to a black man.
They
who
gave you
started
wrong
out in rock
information.
radio in Boston, who crossed the paths into hip-hop, rebuilding one of the greatest black stations in America, and went on to work for Fox News, where I'm told apparently blacks aren't supposed to work. But yet you come with this assumption and you go to white privilege.
David,
That's actually
let me correct-
insulting.
It is, and I apologize.
Like, if you have a black man and a white man, you both got a job. A white man and a black man, they both got a job. And you tell the black man, you got the job in spite of your skin color. Which means, you worked hard. You put in the hours and the effort. You were diligent enough to get that job. Whereas the white man, you got that job not in spite of your skin color, but due in part to your skin color. Do you not see the racism in that? And do you not see the problem with context missing in that? What job are we talking about? What area of the country are we talking about? What other factors are we talking about? How does the guy look? Is he tall and handsome, or is he short, smelly breath, and fat and bald? If I'm in marketing, if I have a marketing company, obviously I want to choose people who are going to be good at speaking, pretty on the, eye candy. I want pretty women. I want handsome men if I'm in marketing, because what I want the consumer to see is my product next to somebody who looks like a success in life, who's happy with life. You see two guys drinking a beer, one's tall and handsome, one's short and fat. You want to buy the beer being drunk by the tall and handsome guy because you just associate the two together. And that's where I'm getting at. These are variables that are underlying that we don't look at, that we don't account for. So let's take that situation again. You got the tall, black, handsome guy. You got the tall, white, handsome guy. The black guy doesn't get the job. The white guy gets the job. So in this situation, they're both handsome. So that's already out the window. That's not a variable. They're both tall and handsome. We got Denzel Washington and we got, Brad Pitt. Okay, but Brad Pitt wins because he's white, because the community's white, and because it's a lot easier to sell a product to white people using white people, because we associate visually with familiarity. That is everything to do with majority privilege. Majority privilege. And I want to circle back to the beginning of my conversation. I'm in Asia. I'm a white guy in Asia. I want to be as objective as I can be. So what I did was I went online. I looked up the origins of white privilege. It came from a rich white woman. Go figure. And then I looked up the test. How can you prove somebody has white privilege? Because it's hard for someone who has privilege to see their privilege. I understand that. So I took this test. It's 26 questions. I'm not going to read all the questions out to you right now. There's 26 questions. You can go online and look it up. I gave it to my students. I teach here in Korea. I've got my own school. So I've got adult students. They answered 25 of the 26 questions as yes. On this test, if you answer over 13 questions yes, you have white privilege. So my Korean students in my class, my 60-year-old Korean ladies, ajumas, they have white privilege. And see, here's the thing I'm trying to point out right to you. The only reason they have white privilege is because they are Korean living in Korea. To me, this is what white privilege means. It doesn't mean the color white. That is just a metaphor. It actually means majority. So when you say white privilege to an American, well, America is 65, 70%. It's 2/3. 2 out of every 3 American is a white person. So when you say they have white privilege, you're saying they have the majority privilege. Anywhere they go, any problem they have, they're going to be dealing with their race the vast majority of the time. And it's the same with my Asian students. When they go to the bank, the teller's an Asian. When they go order food, the waiter's going to speak Korean to them. No one's going to ignore their culture. No one's going to force them to assimilate to their culture. They are the majority. So when you are the majority, you have privilege. I will agree to that. And that's the only concessions I will make as far as white privilege is concerned. So when you look at history books, There's a lot of white brothers in that history book. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Christopher Columbus, Benjamin Franklin. We learn a lot of our heroes are whites. You look at the movies, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, they're all white. Well, that's because the audience is most predominantly white. If the name of the game is make money, financial freedom, success, power, and money, if that's the name of the game, you want to do whatever it takes to get as much percentage of the market as you can. If I'm making a product, why would I make a product that's designed for a black transgender? That's a very small market. So I would say she has less privilege because there are less options and less varieties of things she can buy and have in life. There are less people, less services that for her or for him, her or him. I don't. So, but you see what I'm saying, right? Like, services cost money to make. They cost its infrastructure, its employees, its investments, its risk taken on. You're not going to do all this stuff for a minority of the population. Your goal is to get money and power. And to do that, it's all about marketing. You have to market towards the majority because that's where the majority of the money and power is going to come from. So is that right or wrong? It's nothing. It's the way it is. If I go to China, if I'm in Beijing or somewhere, they're not going to speak English to me. I'm not going to see my race everywhere. They're not going to care about my history, my culture. The textbooks are not going to be American and Washington and this and that. I'm not going to see a lot of movies with white actors as heroes. That's just the way it is. I've been in Korea for 16 years of my life, and I can tell you, there is no white privilege to being in Korea. Based on this, if I take this white privilege test, I haven't taken it yet, but I'll take it eventually and show you guys the results. When I take it, I guarantee you, I might get 5 questions as a yes, probably. But one thing I'm not doing is saying, hey, Korean privilege, let's punish the Koreans. I want Korean guilt. They should feel guilty for being the majority in Korea. See how stupid that sounds? And you see how dividing that is? That's so divisive. Okay, I just want to say one more thing. I'm in my car making this video. I wish I had videotaped this. I had the phone off. I had my camera off. I just watched a woman walk past the front of my car. I'm in the parking lot. And she looked at my car, looked at me, and she mouthed some very unpleasant words. If I were Korean, I doubt she would have done that. So, did it wreck my day? No. Do I think Korea's racist? No. Do I think she's racist? Not even that. I think there's a lot of variables at play. She's obviously a negative woman, or today's not a good day for her. But I have no hate to her. I have no ill intent. It is what it is. I don't really care. Show me the store, show me the club, show me the bank that says blacks cannot come in. Or only whites. In 2021, where is the store that says only whites allowed? Show me that store. And if there is one, it's going to get shut down and boycotted. We are a country of equal opportunity. That does not mean equal outcome. Okay, so by the way, I went outside and saw my car. I'm actually parked crooked, and I got bird poop all over my car. So that woman who badmouthed me probably was because of my car being parked crooked, not because of my skin color. See what I'm saying? There are variables at play. Let's not jump to conclusions. The average person, the general population, is not racist. So let's stop throwing around the words like KKK and neo-Nazis as well. Thank you.